So without further ado, we can go into the midpoint theorem. Okay, just by putting a thumbs up emoji in the chat, who's learned the midpoint theorem at school? I just want to see. Just put a thumbs up emoji if you've learned it in school. If you haven't, then you put a thumbs down. Okay, so many of you have learned it in school already. Okay, so also just something else. If your username is displaying iPhone or iPhone 8 or something like that, just let us know what your name is. We can change your name for you to your actual name so that when you do engage with everyone in class, we know what your name is and we can actually call on you. Okay, there, Miss Nelly, there's Ivy's iPhone. Look, listen to that pretty name, Juliet. And then Lydia asked to be changed to Sakile. And okay. iPhone 8 is Eunice. Okay, thank you so much. I also noticed there was someone here, Anonymous. Anonymous, we are in a class together with everyone, so please say, please let us know what your real name is as well. Well done, Morona. Morona brought Gareth to class. Well done. Okay, so many of you have learned the midpoint theorem, and I'm really happy to see that. If you haven't, no stress. You will soon catch on because it's really not so bad. It's not a difficult thing. It's just like when you learned about parallel lines, alternate angles, and corresponding angles, and you learned about the interior angles of a triangle and all of those properties of quadrilaterals we did in the previous set of lessons. This is just a new thing that we add to that. And the midpoint theorem, I want you to write it down big in on your page or in your book where you do Watobe. It says that the line joining the midpoint of two sides of a triangle is equal to half the length of the third side. And also parallel to it. I can't edit my bubble, but I'm going to write it in there. I was obviously in a rush when I was doing my homework this week. Let's see. Is equal to half of the third side and parallel to the third side. Okay, so make sure you get those words because teachers and examiners love to ask that you must state the midpoint theorem. If you open a grade 10 exam, then a lot of the time that question gets asked. So know the words of it. And remember what I said last time about these geometry theorems and reasons. They are like words of songs and poems. You cannot change them. Those are the words. You must learn it as they are. You cannot make up your own versions of it. Okay, so there's two ways in which we can tell that we are dealing with the midpoint theorem. So the first way is when we are given the midpoints. So what I mean by that is if this is triangle ABC and we have this line DE connecting D and E, and point D is a midpoint of this first side AB, and E is a midpoint of AC. So this AE is equal to EC and AD is equal to BD. Then we can also say, okay, so that means DE is parallel to BC and DE is half of BC. Okay, so I'll just say that again. It was a bit of a mouthful. So if we are given the midpoints, in other words, if we go back to where the triangle was without color, and we say AD is equal to BD and AE is equal to EC. In other words, DE is the line connecting those two midpoints. Then we can say that DE is parallel to BC and DE is half of BC. And our acceptable reason is midpoint theorem. Okay. Now, the other scenario that we could have is where we have one midpoint. So in this case, D is our midpoint. And we know it because it's given that AD is equal to BD. So D is in the middle of the side AB. Then it is also given that DE is parallel to BC. That is enough information for us to then say, okay, E must then also be a midpoint. So AE is equal to EC, and which is this statement here, and DE is equal to half of BC. All right. Can I see by way of a thumbs up in the chat if you are happy with that? Please repeat from the parallel sides. I'm not sure exactly where, Asanda. Okay, if you are giving a thumbs down, you need to ask a question so that I know where to help you. Yes, Asanda. Asanda, you can unmute and ask.
Hi, ma'am.
Yeah, I can almost not hear you. I think your connection might be bad, but let's give it a go. Asanda, what is your question?
Ma'am, please can you repeat from the start? I generally didn't understand actually. From the start, on the side.
Which side? From the very beginning?
Yeah, from the first triangle.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to go quick though, because I did explain that twice already. So just make sure that you are with us. Okay. Everyone else, I'm going to do it one more time. Please take notes as we go. And let's see. So the midpoint theorem say, given the midpoints. So if you are given that AD is equal to BD, in other words, D is a midpoint of side AB. And if you are given that E is the midpoint of AC, so AE is equal to EC. That's what's written here. Then we can say that DE is parallel to BC and DE is half of BC. Okay, and the reason for that is midpoint theorem. Now we go to the other triangle. If it says that you have this one midpoint, so D is the midpoint of AB, so AD is equal to BD, and it is given that DE is parallel to BC, then we know that AE is equal to EC. So that E is a midpoint basically, and then DE is half of BC. It's all just part of the same theorem. It's just different pieces of information that's given. So the theorem states that the line joining the midpoint of two sides of a triangle is equal to half the length of the third side and parallel to the third side as well. On the second triangle, what is meant by the second side? So line through midpoint parallel to second side. So that just means the second side is DE is parallel to BC. So AB is our first side and DE and BC, that's the second side, basically. Okay. But let's do a few questions and then we can see. Let's practice this a little bit. Okay. Sanda, we can lower your hand. Right. So point C, so let's have a look. Point C, Annie has a question. So, ma'am, we only write midpoint theorem as a reason, even when proving the unknown side. We write midpoint as a reason, midpoint theorem as a reason when the two midpoints are given. If a midpoint and a parallel side is given, then we write line through midpoint parallel to second side. But let's do some examples. I think it will help. So point C and A are given on the segments BD and BE. Study the triangle carefully, then identify and name the parallel line segments. Okay, so have a look and then pop in the chat which of the sides are parallel. Let's highlight here clearly that DC is equal to BC, AB is equal to AE. So which sides are parallel? Put it in the chat. We are about 74 strong, so I want to see lots of answers coming through in the chat. Remember about participation. DE is parallel to EC. Wonderful, guys, you got it. So DE is parallel to AC, or you could have had it the other way around. It's all acceptable. AC parallel to DE. And our reason would be midpoint theorem. Okay, let's go to the next one. Have a look at that one. Same story. Points X and V are given on the segments WY and WZ. Study the triangle carefully, then identify and name the parallel line segments. Okay. Do it again, pop in a chat. Which sides are parallel? Just a reminder about remaining on mute, everybody. That's right. We've got given, let's highlight what's given in one color. These lines are equal, WV equal to VZ. In other words, V and X are midpoints. So then VX is parallel to YZ, and the reason is midpoint theorem. Okay, good stuff. Okay, so have a look at this first question that we're going to now attempt together. And what I want you to do is just read the question and then post your reading face in the chat if you are done reading. Don't do anything yet, just read the question and then pop your reading face in the chat when you're done reading. Just read, guys. No need for answers yet. We are just warming up and reading. Okay, and if you do know, what is the length of A? Pop it in the chat and then also give a reason. Answer only is not good enough. You need to give a reason. Okay, what is the value of A, and give a reason. Okay, I see two answers coming in here. Hey, Miss Nelly, there's midpoint theorem. So A is 10, midpoint theorem, and then some are saying Pythagoras.
Yeah, there's one pythagoras. And then there's parallel lines.
Okay, parallel lines are not necessarily equal. But what I want to know from the class is, why is Pythagoras not correct? Why would Pythagoras not be the correct reason for A being 10? Are we stumped? Guys, we can only use Pythagoras if we know that this angle is 90. And last week we spoke about not being Harry Potter and making things up. If that angle there is not shown as 90, we cannot assume it is 90. Okay, so if you want to prove that it's 90, that's fine, you can do that, but you must first prove it. Okay, there is a way to prove that it's 90, but I'm not going to go into that now. But the quickest, easiest reason was just to say that A is 10 because of the midpoint theorem. Okay. Let's do this one. In the figure below, we've got VW parallel to ZX as labeled. Furthermore, the following lengths are given. Okay, so we've got VW equal to 12, ZX is 6, and XY is 5.5, YZ is 5, and angle V is 49. Determine the length of WY with reason. If you know what WY is, then pop it in the chat with a reason. What is important that's given here is that ZX is parallel, and this is 6, and this is 12. Are we going to use midpoint theorem? Or are we going to use line from one side, parallel? Here's our other reason to remind you, line through midpoint, parallel to second side. Are we actually given that VZ is equal to YZ? No, that is not given. What is given is that ZX is parallel to VW, and that ZX is 6 and VW is 12. So 12 is twice 6. So we actually have to use the other reason. Okay, line through midpoint parallel to second side, because the information that's given is not that the midpoints are there, but that the line is parallel. Those two lines are parallel. So when given the parallel side, you use a line from midpoint parallel to second side. When given the midpoints, you use midpoint theorem. Okay. Right, so let's write that down. WX will be equal to 5.5. And then WY will be equal to 11. And the reason for that is line from midpoint parallel to second side. Okay, we've got some questions. Please correct your reason, everyone. If you said midpoint theorem, that's not the right reason. You must use this second reason, right? Line from midpoint parallel to second side. Yes, Hopolang, you have a question? Yes, Hopolang, you can ask your question. Warona and Zakile, it is not allowed to speak to each other in the chat. I want you to stop that immediately. Miss Nelly, will you please just address it with Warona and Zakile? We are here to learn maths. We are not here to engage with nonsense. Yes, Hopolang. Okay, Hopolang, you can type your question in the chat as well if your audio is not working. Right, if you are confused, you must please tell me where you are confused. That will help me to help you quicker and more efficiently in the right direction. How did we get 11? Okay, let's take this slow. So if ZX is parallel to VW, it means Z is actually a midpoint and X is a midpoint. So that means if that's 5, then this will also be 5. And if XY is 5.5, then this will be 5.5. So the whole side will be 5.5 times 2, which is 11. Okay, I've just explained why it's 11 in quite a lot of detail. So if you are still confused, pop a question over to Miss Nelly or pop another question in the chat. We are going to do more examples, guys. Here it is. Let's try again. Okay, we are going to calculate the length of JK. Now look at it carefully. What information is given and how can we calculate JK? Put your answer in the chat if you know what JK is. Okay, so let's start with what's given. What's given is that these lines are parallel. JL is parallel to HG. And it says that this is 10 and this is 5. Okay, so there's 2 ticks there. We've got a parallel side or 2 parallel sides. We've got JL is equal to half of HG. Tick. Okay, we've got the midpoint theorem. So therefore we can say that L is a midpoint and J is a midpoint, which will make LG 8 and JK 9. Okay, so JK is going to equal 9. And the reason, what is given? We've got our 2 options for reasons. We've got the midpoint theorem reason. When the midpoints are given, that's not what we have. What we have is the parallel sides are given. So parallel line, line from midpoint parallel to second side. Okay, good stuff. Right. Now we are warming up. Carry on asking questions in the chat, guys. That is what we are here for. If you're still not sure, don't be shy. Carry on asking questions. We are going to end off now with a little exercise here that I hope that you all going to do. Okay, we're going to quickly go back and just help Sipo. How did we get 9? So because the lines are parallel, JL parallel to HG, we can say that J is a midpoint and L is a midpoint. So because it's a midpoint, JH is 9, so KJ will also be 9. They will be equal in length. This will be equal to that, and this one will be equal to that. And that's how we got JK equal to 9. Okay, let's try this one. Pop your answer in the chat. What is X equal to? With your reason. X is equal to, I'm not going to say, I want to see some more chats, some more answers in the chat. There we go. Good stuff, guys. X is equal to 14, reason being midpoint theorem. So we are given this side's equal to that one, and that one's equal to this one. And then we can add to it, actually, that this side will be parallel to the other one. Okay. And then for question B, what will X be equal to? Let's carry on and read. It's quite a nice color. Good. Now we are catching on. Well done. So X is going to be 3.5 because of the midpoint theorem. What's given? Midpoints. And we can also say that those sides are parallel. Okay. Okay, so C is going to take a little bit longer. I want you to have a think about it, give it a go. Let's see in about 3 minutes. Don't put any answers in the chat yet. Let's just all give it a try. I think it should take about 3 minutes. So at 17:37, we'll check back how everyone has done. And for those of you who are working fast, we also have question D up. So feel free to carry on once you've solved question C. Hold on, Nolatandu. Hold your answers. We're going to check back in about a minute, and then you can put your answer in, okay? Okay, pop your answer in the chat if you got it. Whatever it is that you got, let us see. Bom's getting 2 answers. I hate it when that happens in math, say Bom, when there's 2 answers and both look equally plausible.
Yeah. Which side is 10, Tuli? Which side is X or the other one, the other unknown side?
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to work in this tiny triangle here. And let's see what is given. So we've got the full length of the side is 8. But we've got the markers to tell us that the side's actually cut in half. So that's going to be 4. And we've got this side here. The full length is 6, but same as the other one. It's cut in half. So this bit is going to be 3. Now, in this one, we are not making up things or seeing things. We do have a 90-degree angle. So yay, we can use Pythag if we need to. But there's also the midpoint theorem. Okay, so our x is over here and we're going to solve for it. Yeah, we can solve for it using Pythag. So x squared, actually, sorry, before, no, that's fine. We can carry on. X squared is 4 squared plus 3 squared. And you must say Pythag whenever you use him. You must, it's like acknowledging him for his efforts. And then x squared is going to come out at 16 plus 9 is going to be 25. And then x is 5. Yay! Quite a few of you got that. Well done. If you got something different, I think I see some answers where maybe what you did was subtracted instead of adding, but we are adding because this is the hypotenuse side. It's the longest side, so we must add the 3 squared and the 4 squared together. Okay, now thumbs up in the chat if you are good with that. Let me know. And if you're not sure, then pop us a question. Let us know what the problem is. Yes, Hannah. You can unmute. Hi, Hannah. Miss Nelly, will you maybe just help Mandisa, please? Okay, Hannah, I'm not sure why I can't hear you. You are on mute. You are definitely unmuted. It's showing that you're unmuted, so you can actually just speak, eh? We are saying Pythagoras because we are using Pythagoras to solve for x in that right angle triangle. Okay, Hannah, I'm going to have to move on, but feel free to pop it in the chat. You are unmuted, so oh, there we go. I can hear you now.
Hi, ma'am. So
hello.
I worked it out differently. I worked out the other side. So you know the 8 and the 6. I worked out. So I said 8 squared plus 6 squared, and then I got 100 root, and then I got 10. So then I divided it by 2 to get 5. Is that fine?
Brilliant, brilliant. Well done. Just make sure that when you divided your 10 by 2, that the reason for that you put midpoint theorem. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, awesome. If you did what Hannah did, that's perfect as well. She calculated this longest side first, and then she divided by 2 to get the x, and she got the same answer. Okay, let's do question D. That's probably going to be our last question that we have time for. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes. Just 2 more minutes for those of you who are still busy with D. Just hold on one delay. We are going to get there. And Tumbi Zodwa as well. Just hold on for 2 minutes. We're going to do answers just now. We're just going to give everyone else a chance to also do D. And if you are really keen, if you've done D and now you're waiting, I've got E for you as well. Hold on, Arties. 1 more minute. No worries. Okay, now you can put your answer with your reason. Be careful with your reason. What's given is our midpoints. We've got the sides that are equal. So we're going to say x is 28. Reason is midpoint theorem. Well done. I see you guys are catching on very nicely. So that's 28. And then what is y equal to? Y is hiding in the corner here. I hope that you saw y and that you didn't miss it. Okay, how are we going to find y? So now that we know that we are working with the midpoint theorem, we can say that QR is parallel to ST. Okay, and we can say this is 40 and 60. So to calculate this angle, we can say that is 80 because of interior angles of a triangle. And then because of corresponding angles, y will be 80. Okay, so that's a mouthful and you have to write the whole thing down. I see many of you said 80, but I hope that we can explain why. So let's start off by saying that QR is parallel to ST and our reason is midpoint theorem. Now we can also say that angle PQR is equal to 80 degrees, angle sum of triangle. And then y is equal to 80 because of corresponding angles. QR parallel to ST. You could have, if you did it differently, you could have said first that, yes, QR is parallel to ST. So this angle here is also 60. And then do angle sum in the big triangle, PTS. And you would have gotten the same answer because it's 40 and 60 and 80 gives you 180. Okay. We get 80 because of the corresponding angles. PQR and angle Y are corresponding because QR is parallel to ST. All right. You can take a snapshot or a screenshot of question E that you can finish this week at home and practice your midpoint theorem. We get 28 because QR is 14 and ST is 28. Because ST must be double QR. That's what the midpoint theorem says. Okay, so important from tonight's lesson, we can't use the midpoint theorem unless we are given certain important things. Either both midpoints of the triangle, or one of the midpoints and the line parallel to the second side. Okay, so those are your two scenarios. If you know that you are working with the midpoint theorem, then you know that that line connecting the midpoints will be half the second side of the triangle. Okay. Right, everyone, we have to end it there.